What's going on, you guys? This is your boy RBG, aka the Random Black Gamer, bringing you a video on a supposed leak for Devil May Cry 6. And I say supposed because these details are very ambiguous and we shouldn't take them at face value, because for one, these details don't come from credible sources, and two, some of these details are very speculatory based on some interviews that we've seen from people associated with Devil May Cry in the past. Obviously, a lot has happened since the last installment that made us even wonder if we were even going to get a Devil May Cry 6. Speaking of the number 6, it's been almost 6 years since we got Devil May Cry 5 and 5 years since we got the special edition. Both were great titles. We got a chance to see the epic conclusion to the Sons of Sparta Saga, and in DMC 5 SC we got a chance to obliterate demons with Virgil while listening to his epic theme Bury the Light, which left us wanting more, and we were very much hopeful that we would get something in the near future, because it always felt like the creative director for these games, Hideaki Sana, always came back revitalized and ready to bring some fresh new ideas to the table. Even though he didn't necessarily create DMC, he has played a pivotal role in making it what it is today. Most diehard fans would argue that the Dante that we see in DMC 3 and onward doesn't quite mirror the Dante that we've seen in Devil May Cry 1. For the longest time, it made sense for Devil May Cry 3 Dante to be vastly different from his predecessors because it's the youngest version of the character. He's going to be a bit more loud and obnoxious, but that personality has stuck around for the later entries such as Devil May Cry 4 and 5, which do take place after Devil May Cry 1, because it made fans love the character even more, and that's largely accredited to Hideaki Sano. And it kind of felt like he was going to be around for the long haul, because he had been around with Capcom since the early 90s and worked on other properties such as Power Stone and Dragon's Dogma, as well as rival schools, and Devil May Cry just seemed to be that cherry on the top. No matter how many times he said he was done with the franchise, he always came back to it. And for the longest time, we felt like he was going to inevitably come back to announce a Devil May Cry 6. That's until August of last year that we got that unfortunate announcement that he would be leaving Capcom to focus on other gaming ventures. And after getting this, we just wondered, what was the current state of Devil May Cry? Were we going to get any kind of Devil May Cry other than that trash cash grab that we got in the form of Devil May Cry Pico Combat? The only confirmed thing that we have to look forward to is the Devil May Cry anime on Netflix, which in my honest opinion, I feel like it's going to be a great thing because it's being spearheaded by a genuine fan of the franchise, that being Adi Shankar. Based on the trailers and the opening, I think it's fair to say that they're not going to shy away from all the expansive lore that they have at their fingertips. They're going to be giving us references from all the different games as well as the manga. I think the biggest negative would have to be that the voice actor for Dante isn't going to be the usual, that being Ruben Langdon. It's going to be Johnny Yambash, who we all know to be Nero. And I've argued the fact that even though this is a DMC project that primarily utilizes all the different source material, it's important to keep in mind that this is going to be its own thing. If I'm not mistaken, it's going to be set in its own universe. And I believe as I continue to watch this series, I will ultimately get used to Johnny Young Bosch's voice as Dante. Speaking of voice actors, I have to talk about something that's been making its rounds on the internet, which is an interview of Dan Southworth, aka Virgil, at this year's Power Morphicon, which is this convention hosted for Power Ranger fans. And you're probably wondering why I'm even bringing this up, since Power Rangers seems to be something that's very far away from what we're used to with Devil May Cry, but in actuality the two are very much synonymous. As a matter of fact, the voice actors of the Sons of Sparta were hired because of their Power Rangers backgrounds, because if you want to take on those roles, you have to be a voice actor and know how to perform physical stunts, which is why Ruben Langdon, Dan Southworth, and Johnny Young Bosch were hired for their respective roles in Devil May Cry. And during this interview where Dan talked about the process of voicing Virgil, he mentioned something very interesting.
Over the years have changed the way I use my voice. And it's not, in fact, I just finished a video game 2 weeks ago, actually 3 or 4 weeks ago. They hired me to play this character. I don't want to say any titles or anything because I'm known for my spilling the beans. Uh-oh. But they asked me to do my voice the way it was back in 2004 or whatever. Can you do the younger Virgil version? And so that was challenging.
As you hear, Dan says that he was asked to do a younger version of the Virgil voice for an undisclosed project, which has left many fans to assume that this could be a future Devil May Cry project, possibly Devil May Cry 6. And if you're going to ask me if that's what I think it is, then I'm just going to have to say I'm not sure. This is very much an ambiguous statement. excitement. While Dan Southworth is known for voicing the character of Virgil, it's quite possible that this project isn't a Devil May Cry related one, and the people running it just wanted him to capture that Virgil performance. It definitely wouldn't be the first time this happened. Like, I still remember that Eric Myers / Quantum Ranger trailer we got for Power Rangers Battle for the Grid.
Foolishness, Lord Zed. Foolishness, Dante. I need more quantum power. I need more power.
As you hear, that gave out some good Virgil vibes and references, because even though Dan played the character of Eric first, he's more known for playing Virgil. The devs of Power Rangers Battle for the Grid are probably big DMC fans, and they wanted to just give a nice ode to that fan base. And that could possibly be the same scenario for the developers for this undisclosed project that Dan is talking about. But let's say I played devil's advocate, no pun intended. If they were working on a new Devil May Cry project, and Dan mentioned that they wanted him to channel his younger version of the character, particularly DMC 3, then there's a possibility that this could be a remake of Devil May Cry 3, because we are living in the remake era of video games, and ever since Capcom had this resurgence with their RE engine, they've made it a point to go back and remake games from their older properties such as Resident Evil. The last Devil May Cry game was developed using this engine, and given the fact that Devil May Cry has ties to Resident Evil and was originally going to be Resident Evil 4, it's not that hard to believe that they could possibly be working on a Devil May Cry 3 remake using the RE engine. Just want to quickly point out that the character of Leon S. Kennedy has had a RE engine facelift 2 times with Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4, and Leon just so happens to be created by the same guy that created Dante, which is Hideki Kamiya, which leads us into our next point in this video. As I said, guys, Hideki Kamiya is the original creator of Dante. He's the guy who originally worked on Devil May Cry 1, but for whatever reason he wouldn't work on the sequels. Instead, he would create his own development company called Clover Studios and began working on other Capcom properties such as Beautiful Joe and Okami. And this would go on for another 4 years before he decided to shut down the studio and leave Capcom and start another development company called Platinum Games, where they would go on to create Bayonetta as well as collaborate with other studios to produce these awesome high-octane action-oriented projects. But after 13 years of doing this, Kamiya would finally call it quits on the company and decide that he's going to take a step out on faith and start up a new company called Clovers, which is a reference and a play on his former company's name, Clover Studio. And after fulfilling his 1-year non-compete agreement to work on any games for the year of 2023, we got an epic announcement in the following year of December 2024 that Hideki Kamiya and Clovers were returning to Capcom to work on Okami 2. And it's from there that we will see other Platinum Games employees jump ship from the company and join Kamiya on his epic crusade. And this got a lot of fans talking about all the endless possibilities that we have, because now that Kamiya is back with Capcom, he could essentially work on other projects that he's actually started in the past, such as a new Beautiful Joe, possibly a new God Hand, and the creme de la creme of them all, Devil May Cry 6, which I just have so many good ideas that I think they will try to introduce to the franchise, especially considering the fact that it's been so long. It's been well over 20 years since Kamiya even touched a Devil May Cry related theme, which includes the Beautiful Joe games, which he had Dante make a special guest appearance in. I always wanted to know what he would do when it came to expanding the lore, and if he would implement some of the mechanics that he has in games like Bayonetta. And I'm not just talking Kamiya, I'm talking about all the other people that have decided to come with him, like the cinematic director for Okami, Devil May Cry 1, and Bayonetta and Astro Train, and the lead animator for games like Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. That would essentially be a return to true form for them. But like I always say, guys, these are things that you have to take with a very small grain of salt. These things aren't necessarily set in stone. We don't even know if we'll be getting a DMC 6, let alone a Devil May Cry project in general, so try not to take them as definitive until the officials come out and say that they are indeed working on something of that nature. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. What are your thoughts on these things? Do you believe that we could be getting a Devil May Cry 6 or possibly a Devil May Cry 3 remake? And do you like the idea of Hideki Kamiya and Clovers returning to this property? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, I ask that you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. But if you really enjoyed this video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it with all your friends and followers on all the different social media outlets. Sharing is caring. But once again, this is your boy RBG, aka the Random Black Gamer, signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.